Hello everyone, hey, Jody Heath from jodyheath.com. I'm doing this video screencast for my week 4 discussion assignment for the Microsoft Windows class I'm taking at Golden West College. Since Professor Daniel posed some pretty thoughtful discussion questions, I decided to also repurpose this content for my YouTube channel and probably later on for my blog as well. So to get started, what is a Windows app? Okay. Well, whether you're talking about desktop apps, window apps, or smartphone apps, they're all simply lines of code that tell your said device what to do. They do similar, if not the exact same thing for the most part, with a few twists. In a broader sense, you might refer to both desktop apps and window apps as standalone versions that run off your operating system. The antithesis of a standalone app might be the web-based version, which uses more of the processing power of the software owner's server instead of your own computer. A well-known example of a standalone app might be Microsoft Word contained within the Microsoft Office suite for PC. Its web-based cousin would be Microsoft Word, which is contained within the online version, Microsoft Office 365. So some of the key differences in desktop apps versus window apps are the vehicle from which you receive the app, how much the app can control your system, and the ease of updates. Some sources also say that window apps tend to be simpler, more basic apps, but this may not hold true for long. In the last 6 months or so, I'm seeing more and more complex apps such as iTunes being offered up by the Windows Store. With desktop apps, you typically download them from various software sites. Windows apps, however, you download only from the Microsoft Store, unless they came pre-installed on your PC. Here's another example of a desktop app versus a Windows app. Here, I've taken you to the download page of Evernote, which is a productivity app. It helps you kind of organize things, take notes. As you see here, you can get an Apple version, a Google Play version. You can get it straight from the Microsoft Store, but you can also download it straight from this website, straight to your computer, and install it that way. Okay. If you were to get it from the Microsoft Store, you could get it one of two ways: straight from this link, which would take you into the Microsoft Store. I'm already logged in, so you can see it. It already says I own the app. Another way I would be able to get it is to go into the Microsoft Store from the Start menu, click Search. Let's see, type in Evernote, and then I could download it here. Okay, so two different ways to get the Windows app. At its most basic level, the Windows apps is simply just a desktop app in a container that allows for the Microsoft Store to do mass distribution of the app. But to qualify for Microsoft Store distribution, Microsoft imposes certain restrictions on the software owner, such as limiting bloatware, limiting how much control the app has over your system. So why is limiting bloatware and control such a big deal? Well, sometimes you'll install a piece of software and you might miss that little checkbox that says uncheck if you don't want to install some random additional software. It's often very unethically almost hidden in the fine print, and then all of a sudden you've unintentionally installed something like Yahoo Toolbar or McAfee antivirus on top of your other antivirus, slowing you down, or even something creepy like a keylogger or something that takes over your webcam. Even if you're lucky enough to avoid something super malicious, okay, at the very least you may end up installing some unnecessary software utility. Okay, and what does every unnecessary piece of software have the propensity or at least the potential to do? slow your system down. Okay, so think back when you first got your computer and how fast it was, how fast it booted up, and just generally it was pretty snappy overall, yeah? Then you added something like Microsoft Office Suite, Adobe Photoshop, iTunes, Camtasia. You probably picked up a hitchhiker along the way, like some kind of adware or some iTunes sidekick like QuickTime, one of those check boxes. Well, it wasn't long before you had things running at startup that you didn't need, that you didn't ask for, and ought not be there. And it wasn't long before you had things running in the background that you also didn't ask for and just didn't need. And in lieu of any obvious hardware deficiencies, that's a big reason why your system just doesn't run as fast today as it should, or as the day you bought it. Now, it's a fairly easy fix. I mean, you can uninstall stuff, you can reinstall Windows. Sometimes starting from scratch is the best way, or you can, install a SSD solid state drive and put your Windows just on that drive by itself. It's called a boot drive, basically. But it's best never to get in that predicament. Okay. So now there are some very subtle and not so subtle nuances that differentiate Windows apps from desktop apps. Okay. Windows apps, in my experience, are easier to install for the average user. I found they install quicker and sometimes with a smaller footprint on your system, as I'll show you in a minute. Windows apps are supposed to run on a more limited permission basis, meaning that Microsoft claims they never attain admin privileges. What they can and can't do is usually pretty implicit in their wording. Just a little side rant about admin privileges. Something you never want to do is set your main Windows account as an admin account. I'm talking about the main account you log into every time you use your computer. Sure, there's some benefit in having an administrator account as a separate occasional login, but not for your day-to-day driver. It's too unsafe, and it leaves you very vulnerable if you're going to be browsing the web and in general just doing work on your computer if you're logged in as an administrator. You're much better off setting your main account at the local level. Okay. The reason is, if you're logged in as an administrator, you've probably noticed you don't have to type in your admin password to install software. Now, you might think that's convenient, but here's the problem. If you come across the wrong, unscrupulous, or unethical website and it attempts to install something malicious, like a virus or a keylogger or just some annoying piece of adware, if you're already logged in as an admin account, it doesn't need admin permission or an admin password for these potentially dangerous processes to take control of your system in a very bad way. Okay, they can break your system, slow it down, spy on you, steal your credit card, and many other very bad things. So basically, the Microsoft Store apps, or Windows apps, that are distributed from the Microsoft Store, they claim to be sandboxed, meaning they're isolated to a certain part of your operating system, and they're not supposed to be able to autonomously reach beyond that level of control. Sandbox apps are limited in the amount of damage they can do because they simply don't have access to all the vital parts of your system that non-sandboxed apps do. So non-sandboxed apps would typically be the standalone desktop versions or programs you install from someplace other than the Microsoft Store. So Windows apps are very automatic update friendly. If you're someone like me who leaves your computer on all the time, Windows apps will generally update in the background as soon as these general updates, patches, and fixes are rolled out. Okay? So why would you want automatic updates enabled? Well, many of these updates to your OS and your apps, they're rolled out to address Windows threats or vulnerabilities that the security experts have recently discovered. The problem is hackers probably knew about these vulnerabilities much longer than the software makers who are now providing you these updates and patches. So installing updates in a timely fashion just equates to best practice usage, better security, and generally a smoother running system. There's one disclaimer, however. There's always a chance of your system getting broken from an update. So you really should have a fairly robust method of backing your system up if you're going to allow automatic updates just to run on their own. Some of the Windows apps I currently use are Alexa, iTunes, Audible, Ditto, the app, and Evernote. Now, I don't have an Alexa device in every room, okay, but one day I was going through the Windows store and I saw you could get the Alexa app for PC, installed it, and it pretty much works identical to the standalone unit you might get from Amazon. Okay. Here's an example. Okay. So here's my Alexa app, and we're going to have it adjust my thermostat. Okay. Turn the heat on.
It's set to heat.
Set thermostat to 65 degrees.
The heat's set to 65.
So yeah, that works pretty smooth. Okay. Now, most everyone is aware of iTunes, the desktop version. I already had the desktop version, but I went ahead and installed the Windows app version because I hoped that it wouldn't be such a CPU hog as the desktop version has historically been. Okay, so we're talking about a Macintosh program that was made for Mac, optimized for Mac, but was, essentially modified to be able to run on a PC. So it's not really that counterintuitive that it may not be the most efficient running process in your PC toolbox. Unfortunately, I didn't perform any benchmarks, for the desktop version versus the Windows version, but I can't tell much of a difference, if any. Okay, if anything, it's definitely not worse. Another reason I installed the Windows version of iTunes is I don't use iTunes that often. Okay, but when I use it, it's fairly important. But because I open the app so infrequently, they almost have an update every time I open the app. So I just really wanted something that would keep it updated in the background that I wouldn't have to fool with. Okay. Another app I use is the Audible app. If you're someone who listens to a lot of ebooks, Audible's a pretty good one. When I'm listening to my truck, if I hear something important, I'll click the bookmark, and then later on, if I think about it, I can come back in, go through the bookmarks, and I can make some notes and kind of get the meat out of some of these audiobooks. Now, my favorite productivity apps are two apps. One is called Ditto, and the other is called Evernote. Okay. Now, many of you know about the Clipboard function in Microsoft Word. Okay, so you know that you can, if you hit Control V or right click and paste, you'll paste the most recent thing. But if you want to go down the line and automatically just paste something that was copied a long time ago, well, you have the Microsoft Word Clipboard. Okay. The problem is the Microsoft Office Clipboard is only for Microsoft Word, and most other programs on your PC don't have their own clipboard function. There's certainly not a native Windows clipboard that can transcend across your system and play nicely with your other apps. And here comes Ditto. I did a search one day in the Windows store, and I found this little app. It's a little utility, probably more of a utility, because it doesn't do that much, but what it does, it does very well. So Ditto will, keep a record of everything that you copy or Control C, and I can go anywhere on my computer, and wherever I put my cursor, I can click on one of these items and I can paste it into the blank. Okay, I can search for things I copied, and it's just it's really convenient to have. Okay, so if you need to insert it somewhere later, you just put your cursor where you want it, open the Ditto. There's a little keyboard shortcuts. You can do the Control and the accent key. From there I can search from the many copies of Control C's, a long time ago, and I can, and as long as I've inserted my cursor where I want the copy to go, okay, then I just double click any of these lines. I just double click and it's going to insert that text where I want it. Save you some time, maybe delay, you're getting some carpal tunnel syndrome or something. Okay. The real utility of this app is you can copy something in one program and then paste it into another program. As far as I know, there's nothing native to Windows that you can do that function that well or at all. Now, my favorite Windows productivity app by far is Evernote, which is a note-taking, organizing utility. Its biggest competitor and similar product is probably Microsoft's OneNote. Evernote does a few things better than OneNote, such as it has a better tagging system, a more robust search engine, a better, I'm not even sure if OneNote has a web clipping ability, but sort of like you would do with Snagit by TechSmith, or even the native snipping tool that comes loaded on Windows now. It actually snips images from websites and does that very efficiently. Now, I've been using Evernote for years on my iPhone and my computer. It can sync across all your devices. They offer a free version and a subscription-based platform. The content it saves is based in the cloud, but the framework can run on your computer as either a standalone version or a web-based program. Okay. I actually found out the app had recently been listed in the Microsoft Store. Okay. So after thinking about what content I wanted to include in this assignment, I did a quick search in the Microsoft Store, and there it was. Okay. Now, the installation of Evernote was not quite as seamless as it was when I installed iTunes, because remember, I already had a desktop version of iTunes. So when I installed iTunes, the documentation and the execution was actually a little better. The iTunes documentation said the Windows app would automatically remove the desktop version. It reassured me I wouldn't lose any of my libraries, and that was accurate. It went off without a hitch. Okay. With Evernote, it wasn't difficult, but it wasn't near as polished. Okay. And as you'll see here, let me open up my programs. So let's go into settings, and let's go into apps, and let's scroll down to Evernote. And I left this here intentionally. If you'll see what happened, I ended up with two different versions, or probably two of this very similar, if not the same versions of Evernote. So basically Evernote didn't remove the pre-existing copy off my system. And like I said, you don't need a lot of clutter on your computer slowing things down. So the question is, how do you find out which one was the Windows app and which one was the desktop app? And what I figured out was, if you go to some of these programs that I've put on, such as Audible, that I've gotten these straight from the Windows Store, they have advanced options here. You can, maybe you can do these shortcuts from other places, but they have these options built right into the apps and features menu. So basically, let's see if we can find another one here that I've installed. We'll just use the Evernote. So if you come into this Evernote, it doesn't have those options. But if you come in this Evernote, it has those advanced options. So I know that this is the Windows Store version. Another something else you may notice is that, look at the size of the file. The Windows app version is 173 megabytes. The Evernote version, 316 megabytes. Okay. So it's got the desktop version has a bigger footprint. Does it do anything more? Not that I can find. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and get rid of the desktop version. Hopefully I don't break anything, but let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna click here, I'm going to click uninstall. And actually, I better close it out. Let's just close it out to be on the safe side. And we'll go ahead and click uninstall. Okay, and it brings up a little dialog box. And there it goes. So far so good. Okay, so now let's go back in, and I can see it's vanished from my, I had a little shortcut here. I had pinned it to my start menu. So this is the new version from the Windows Store. I'm going to go ahead and pin it to my start menu and drag it over here where I can get to it easy. And let's open it back up and see if anything's different. Yep, it wants me to log in. Okay, so now we're in the Windows version of Evernote, and I can tell you something, I'm actually pretty happy, because I noticed after I updated Evernote in the desktop version the other day, yesterday I think, and I installed this, it messed up the zoom function on this thing, and it just made all the print super large, and I could hardly see everything on the page. Like this reminders thing, I couldn't even see all this content. But what I noticed is after I got rid of this, the old desktop version, it's totally changed that, and it looks much better. Okay, so let me get back to the slideshow here. Alright, so why did I choose Evernote as my favorite Windows app? Okay, let me take you to the Evernote homepage. Here's one of the reasons. So Evernote helps you capture and prioritize ideas, projects, and to-do lists, so nothing falls through the cracks. Okay, that's a very abbreviated version of what it really can do, but it does so much more. So they have a purely web-based version, and I'm going to show you that. So this is the web-based version of Evernote. It works, but as things go, you know, when you use the desktop version of an app, it's generally a little more powerful than the one that's purely web-based. Let's do apples for apples. So let me go to the same page. Okay, so this, you see it's a little slow. It's a little slow, slower than we want. So let me get to the same page. So this is what you get with a web-based version. You have to wait for it to load. Okay, in a pinch it works, but is it preferable? Definitely not. Okay, here's the desktop standalone version, or actually now I'm on the pure Windows app version, and it's just a lot more snappy. It's quicker. Things are going to happen a lot faster. Now, you know, why did I start using Evernote so much? So I've always had a hard time knowing what paperwork to throw away and what to keep. I've had a hard time keeping the clutter down in my office. Okay, it's easy to turn into a paper hoarder of sorts. Now, Evernote really helps you eliminate the majority of paper from your life. Okay, one of my main goals in life is to have a paperless office. Okay, well, I'm not there yet, but Evernote is helping me get closer to that goal. Here's some examples of how I use Evernote. Okay, now it's important to retain receipts from all your stores and your purchases you visit each month, until at least you see your bank statement, or you verify online that they didn't double check that your bank account wasn't overcharged more than it was supposed to be. So instead of stuffing all these receipts in a messy shoebox, I just scan them in Evernote. Okay, you're never going to run out of space for scanning receipts, so just scan them in. Now there's apps for every smartphone that you can scan things in, but I prefer a dedicated scanner. It's much quicker, makes a nice clean scan. Okay. Now many of you have heard about OCR, also known as optical character recognition. You see, Evernote has the added benefit of digitizing all text found in not only documents and PDF, but it can also scan the text found in almost any image format. Well, Evernote combines its high-tech OCR abilities with its very robust Evernote search engine to give you just a really good searchability of your documents and images. The beauty of this is you don't have to be so meticulous about creating an elaborate folder structure for every note. Yes, you can add tags, and Evernote has a wonderful tagging system. You can add tags to Evernote. You can add a file name to it, which the file name can further finesse your ability to search and pull up notes. But you don't need to remember exactly where you put that receipt or that document. You just need to remember a keyword contained within that document. Okay, so let's say, for example, you're at Sam's, and I can't think of something I bought at Sam's lately, but let's just do something that I buy a lot of, which is I buy almond milk every time I go to Sam's. Just type in almond right here, the keyword almond, and it's going to pull up every document that has the word almond in it. Okay, so here's a receipt. And if you look here, it's got a little highlighting. I'm going to try to emphasize this. It's got a little blue highlighted almond. Okay, so if I needed the receipt to return something and I didn't want to dig through a big box of receipts, or I didn't want to remember what folder I put that receipt in, well, I can just do a quick search. I can show it to the customer service rep. I can print it out if I really want to. And most places will take an iPhone image these days, or a smartphone image. I also have like a shopping list I use every time I go to the store, and it's just a little reminder jump list, whatever I need, and I can click and I can uncheck. I can check and uncheck these boxes. I can click here and get a link to it and share that link with anyone. I can give people editing privileges. A lot of the same things you can do in OneNote. You can share these and have other people edit them, but it's just really convenient to find. If I don't remember where, actually the things I use most frequently, I actually put up here in the shortcuts. But even if I couldn't remember it, I could just type in keyword shop and it would just pull it up right away. Something else I use Evernote for is running my workplace lottery pool. Okay, where I work, we have about 40-50 people from different parts of the hospital that go in on a lottery pool that I run. And I use Evernote as a database for all my updates, contracts, policies, links. I share with my group, and I can scan. I usually scan about 100 tickets twice a week in an Evernote PDF format. I give it a quick password, and then I distribute it to all my participants really easy. Okay, so you can actually create a website, a little simple website with Evernote by just putting titles, menu. You can make your own menu in Evernote and put links. That's not really what it's meant for, but can be done. So if I send out a notification to say 50 or so players of my lottery participants, sure, I could use all emails, but honestly, many people these days are sort of becoming email illiterate to a point. Okay, so let me show you an example of something I would probably want to email, but don't really want to. Okay, so this is like all the notes for the next pool. Now this is a pretty long page of content. Most of it stays the same. I just update this part here that shows the total amount of the pool, when the deadline is, and sometimes I'll put like current events, like this really fortunate guy who won 768 million, just found out I think yesterday. Hadn't looked at his lottery tickets from March 27th. So you can't put all this in a text message. Okay, yes, I could use email, but I explain, people, they just seem to have a lot of problems with emails these days. Okay, I have to explain to them how to navigate the spam folder. If my message gets triggers one of Gmail spam alerts, or sometimes it gets buried in the all mail folder under like promotions or something, and it's just a hassle to get, and people just think that they didn't get the email. Okay, so email is kind of an all or none phenomenon, in that people, they're either going to see it or they're not, depending on how email literate they are. And then you have the issue that you can't edit an email once it goes out. Okay, to me that's kind of stressful. Okay, man, weird, but I just like the fact that I can go to this document, I can edit anything at any time. Sure, maybe 5 or 10 people saw it, but people are going to come back to it constantly, and the majority of them probably haven't by the time I realize I need to make a little edit. And it's just really convenient to be able to edit something. So what I basically do is, I found the perfect combination really is just to send out an Evernote link in a text message. Okay. People almost always open their text messages, especially when they know the person, and then they can click this Evernote link and get to a page that's mobile responsive, mobile friendly, and it just works. Okay. Now, some people might say, hey, why don't you create your own website? Well, you know, I do have WordPress websites, and those are great when your intent is to do SEO and drive traffic, you know. But the thing is I'm not for my blog. For my lottery pool, I'm not concerned with personal branding and increasing my cyber footprint. Okay, I use Evernote because of its simplicity, its reliability, and its speed of execution. You're never going to be able to update your own website, especially WordPress, quicker than you'll be able to update Evernote. Okay, I don't need to update 20 different plugins, deal with bugs, deal with compatibility issues. Evernote handles all those administrative tasks for me. Okay, and when you open the Evernote app, you're basically in the editor already. Okay, so these are the individual notes. Okay. And now I'm basically in the editor now. Okay, so I can change any of this stuff. I can hit sync and it's going to be live online. Okay. Another good thing about Evernote is it doesn't probably look super polished here. Okay, but watch what happens when I share this link. Okay, so this is what people are going to be seeing. Okay, let's go ahead and pop that in. So you can share a link to Evernote. It's going to create kind of like its nice little landing page. Okay, it's going to, whatever the title of your note is, it's going to put the title up here, and it's just going to give you a nice, clean, polished looking, optimized web page to share with your audience. I've actually been a paying subscriber for a while to Evernote. I think I'm grandfathered in to the initial rate. I think it's like $70 a year when I upgraded. The main reason I upgraded is I wanted to create a paperless office. I wanted to take all the paper I had accumulated that I may need, you know, tax documents and stuff, what have you, and I wanted to digitize everything. Okay, and the cool thing is when I scan something in on my scanner, a copy goes to my computer, a copy goes up in the cloud. But the problem is, with the free version here, you get, I think it's 60 megabytes a month. Okay, with the paid version, you get up to 10 gigs a month of upload, and you get a little more expanded function with this OCR ability, and you get some other little bells and whistles here. Okay, it's just a more functional. A lot of people start out with the free version, they use it for a year or two, and they have a really good ascension model, because the longer you use it, the more likely you are to upgrade, because, you know, I guess they kind of sink their teeth into you. But, you know, this app has actually just made my life a lot simpler, and I have no regrets. So if you view this video on YouTube, I'll put a link to Evernote in the YouTube video description. Now, as a disclaimer, it is a referral link. I think every time someone upgrades to a premium subscription, I get 3 months off or something. So you, as a new user, you can actually save some money too if you refer your friends. It's not a very lucrative affiliate program as far as affiliate programs go. It's kind of disappointing, but it is something. So if this video is helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm enjoying this class and all the feedback. Take care.